He let her die. She died smiling, protecting the ones he called family, and he never flinched. Not once. Not even when the world screamed her name. They all whispered her sacrifice, wore it like a badge of honor, while he basked in safety, in warmth, in the life she bought with her blood. She had trusted him. She had loved him. She had believed in him, and he let her fall. But death is not always the end. The wind carries secrets, and the fire leaves ashes. She is coming back, not for forgiveness, not for love, not even for closure. She is coming for what is owed, everything. And when she returns, every smile, every quiet betrayal, every lie he thought buried will burn in the light of her revenge. Her life had been a tapestry of trust, each thread spun with hope and devotion. She had given him everything: her laughter, her secrets, her heart, and in return, he had promised safety. He had whispered that she was irreplaceable, that together they could face anything. She believed him. She loved him. The night it all fell apart began like any other. Candles flickered in the warm kitchen, laughter echoing from the rooms beyond. She had stayed behind to finish the work, to protect them, the family he adored, the ones he called his own. And when danger came, she took it all on herself. One wrong step, one raised hand, and she shielded them. She felt the sharp bite of betrayal as the world blurred around her. But the betrayal did not end there. When the chaos subsided, when the dust settled, he looked at her not with sorrow, not with guilt, but with cold calculation. He spoke her name only once, then let the blame fall on her shoulders. Every lie he whispered, every false smile he wore, painted her as the villain. Friends turned, allies vanished. She was humiliated in every possible way, finger pointed, shunned, erased. The world she had known, the love she had nurtured, crumbled like ash in her hands. She died thinking she had given everything, only to find that it was never enough, that the one she trusted most, the one who promised to stand by her, had abandoned her when it mattered. And in her last breath, she vowed it would not end like this. Even as her body gave way to the dark, even as silence claimed her, a spark remained, a promise whispered only to herself. One day, he would remember. One day, he would feel the weight of what he had thrown away. And when that day came, there would be no mercy, only the reckoning she had earned. Death was not the end, not for her. She woke in silence, the world unfamiliar yet waiting. Her body felt light, her mind sharp, each thought a weapon honed by the fires of the past. She looked into the mirror and saw the same face, yet different, stronger, colder, untouchable. The pain of betrayal had been carved into her bones, but it no longer hurt. It had become armor. Time itself seemed to bend for her. Memories of her former life replayed, each one a lesson etched in fire. She remembered the laughter that had been stolen, the trust shattered, the lies that had suffocated her. And she made a vow, louder than any scream she had ever let out. She would return, but not as the woman who had been cast aside. She would return as the storm. Her second chance was not given, it was taken. Knowledge flowed through her like lightning, shaping her mind, sharpening her instincts. She learned to move unseen, to read intentions before they were spoken. Her hands could craft beauty or destruction. Her smile could heal or deceive. Power was no longer abstract. It was hers, precise, unyielding, and deadly in its subtlety. In quiet moments, she practiced patience. She mastered the art of waiting, letting the world forget her. She learned that rage alone could not win battles, but cunning, elegance, and timing could. Each breath she drew was measured, each step deliberate. And yet, beneath the calm, there was fire burning, constant, insatiable, a hunger for justice, for the reckoning owed, not for love, not for mercy, only for balance. She had been broken once. She had been used. She had been betrayed. But she was reborn, and this time, she would choose the terms. The woman who had died for them was gone. In her place stood someone new, patient, lethal, untouchable. Someone who would not ask for the world. She would take it. She walked among them as if nothing had changed. The streets, the faces, the laughter, they were all familiar, yet hollow. Every smile she offered was a mask, every word carefully measured. She moved like a shadow through the life they had built without her, invisible yet always watching. He was there, of course, the one who had let her fall. He wore his arrogance like armor, unaware that the woman he had discarded now moved in silence at the edge of his world. She observed him, noting his habits, his weaknesses, the subtle cracks in his confidence. Every gesture, every careless glance, was a key. Her revenge did not begin with fire or fury. It began in whispers, in small, almost imperceptible shifts. A missed message, a carefully timed betrayal by proxy, a rumor planted where it would do the most damage. Nothing overt, yet the world began to tilt, ever so slightly, in her favor. She learned to enjoy the power in subtlety, the thrill of watching him stumble while he believed himself untouchable. The satisfaction of seeing the world she had once protected start to crumble quietly under the weight of her return. Each minor victory was a note in a symphony he could not hear. And yet, she kept her heart hidden. The love that had once made her vulnerable now slept beneath layers of steel. No one would see it. No one would touch it. Her focus was singular, justice, precise, and inevitable. He never suspected, not once, not even when she smiled at him in passing, when her eyes flickered with a memory he could not recognize. He thought she was gone. He thought she had forgiven, but she was not gone. She had returned, and every move, every decision, every quiet triumph, was a step closer to the reckoning he had earned. Every breath she took in his world was a whisper of what was coming, a storm hidden behind calm, a fire wrapped in grace, a shadow that would not fade. The reckoning came not with noise, but with precision. She moved like a ghost through the life he thought untouchable, and one by one, the pieces began to fall. His allies faltered, his plans unraveled, his world shifted quietly, impossibly under her invisible hand. She never struck with cruelty. That was for amateurs. She struck with inevitability. Every move he had made, every betrayal he had hidden behind smiles, came to light not because she shouted it, but because the truth had a way of breathing itself into the open. He noticed it first in the small things. Contracts he had relied on crumbled. Partnerships he thought secure turned. Friends he trusted whispered behind his back. Panic flickered in his eyes, brief and fleeting, and she savored it, not joy, but the rightful weight of his own choices pressing down on him. Then came the confrontation. She didn't yell, she didn't rage. She stood before him, calm, untouchable, the embodiment of every lesson he had refused to learn. His mouth opened, closed. Words failed. For once, the man who had smiled through her suffering had no clever line to hide behind. "You forgot one thing," she said, voice steady, eyes cold but unwavering. "I survived, and survival gives me clarity, justice, balance. Everything you took you owe, and I am collecting." He staggered under the truth of it, his regret raw, unformed, suffocating. Every memory of betrayal, every lie he had told, every hand he had lifted while she fell, pressed against him. He wanted to explain, to apologize, to grasp for forgiveness, but she had none to give. Forgiveness was a luxury she had discarded long ago. She had already won, not through fury, not through chaos, but through intellect, patience, and timing. The world tilted in her favor, as inevitable as dawn. He was left with his own conscience, writhing in the light she had brought back. And she walked away, graceful, untouchable, leaving him with nothing but the bitter taste of regret and the quiet knowledge that he had underestimated her once, and paid dearly. She had reclaimed her life, her dignity, her power, and he would remember, always, the woman he let die. The world no longer held chains for her. The weight of betrayal, once so suffocating, had lifted. She walked freely, each step measured, each breath unburdened. The fire that had burned inside her, that had fueled her return, had settled into a quiet warmth, a steady flame, calm, controlled, sustaining. She no longer needed to prove herself to anyone. The past had been honored, the debt collected, and the lessons etched deep into her bones. The man who had betrayed her was left in the rubble of his own choices, a shadow of what he had once been. That was enough. Justice had its way without cruelty, and she had reclaimed her dignity intact. And yet, life had more to offer than revenge. She discovered small joys in the simplest things: the softness of sunlight on her skin, the sound of rain against a window, the subtle thrill of creating something with her own hands. Freedom was a quiet power, more intoxicating than any triumph over her enemies. Love, too, found her, but not as it had before. Not fragile, not dependent, not naive. It was gentle, respectful, mutual. It did not consume her, nor did it define her. It was a companion, not a necessity, a reminder that life could be soft as well as strong. She helped others who had suffered, lending guidance, wisdom, and the quiet strength of someone who had walked through fire and emerged whole. She became a lighthouse, not by seeking recognition, but simply by being unshakable in her presence. Her reflection in the mirror no longer whispered pain. It smiled, serene, powerful, complete. She had been broken, betrayed, cast aside, and she had rebuilt herself stronger than the life that had tried to crush her. In the quiet of evening, she sometimes let herself remember the woman she had once been. She honored her sacrifice without longing, without bitterness. And in those moments, she felt a profound peace, a certainty that she had done what was necessary and that now, her story belonged only to her. She had survived. She had returned. She had risen. They thought she had been buried, thought her fire extinguished, thought her story ended in ashes. But she had learned the language of survival, the art of patience, the power of inevitability. She had loved, she had suffered, she had returned, and in her silence, in her calm, in the quiet certainty of her own strength, she had spoken louder than any betrayal ever could. The world had tried to break her, to erase her, to dim her light. Yet here she stood, unshakable, untouchable, a force reborn from the ruins they had left behind, and the memory of her was wildfire that would never die.